yeah, what I decided to work on is not generating slop, it's condensing slop. And that'll be tied back into generating slop. But right now, we're just going to work on. And luckily, so far, the internet's totally good. It's kind of awesome. So far, this is kind of a test. But we started so early. Is I got to make money. You know, we got to pay the bills. Also, got to pay other bills now that we'll get into it. But I figured, well, let's go from. Let's start maximizing what we're doing. And what that means is paying for API systems, LLM, not just for coding things, but for also making things. Because I was thinking, let me just illustrate it. Let me just actually illustrate it here. Let me go to MS Paint here. All right, MS Paint. Ooh, that's how you know we're serious. Basically, you just have a program, right? In the old days, right? You have a program, and then you have a programmer, right? And then the programmer makes a program. Inside the program, there's different functions. So there's different core, systems, right? And all it does is you take information, right? Input. It goes into here. Something happens. This is what the programmer makes, but this is the input, and then it eventually makes the output, right? This is all program is. And then inside of functions or inside of submodules inside the program, there are different, functions, right? Little functions. Boop, 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 right? And then, feeds the information from here to here. It's not exactly, but this is essentially what happens. And then you get the output, right? And so you get a programmer that makes the program, and then you have the input and takes the output. That's all a program is just a function. Takes information, right, and modifies it in some way. That's all it does. It could multiply it. It could, grade it. It could, never give the same information, just give some other information. But this is essentially what a program is on its highest level. Bro had a cold. I had a cold 1 week ago. Yeah, it's just a cold. You plan on releasing a physical copy of your new book? Yeah, eventually. Eventually, just not right now. Right now, we have other problems. Not other problems. We have other issues or other things we're working through, such as working on productivity. Really, we're kind of like at a level where everything has to be done, and every day you're not doing something, you're missing out. But anyway, this is kind of what we're doing, and what we've been doing. What we've been doing is, instead of programming it, let's have AI program it, right? Or multiple AIs, right? And then us, as programmers, just talk to the, not really be programmers, be systems engineers, right? Be engineers. And then, talk to these people, right? Talk to these AIs, and these AIs build a system. And that's good because you're building a hard system, right? What I've decided, not decided, but this is like an aspect of what I'm working on now. And I was thinking, because it's good, right? Because now this AI gets better. This AI gets better, right? As AI gets better, these systems can be better and they can go over stuff. What I was thinking, though, is that instead of having, so this is the old model. Let's go over here. There we go. That's the better version. And so let's work on systems that have, it's like this, right? So we're still using this. This makes sense, right? It makes sense to have, those lines. Sometimes I draw something like, damn, did I just fry my brain just fried? Am I just like scribbling like nonsense? Is this like what a crazy person is doing? Like a, psych ward? Is this really just like an insane person? Am I just like like mouth of madness level like delusions going on here? I'm like looking at this isn't even legible. There's nothing just scribbles. Anyway, yeah, that's good, right? So we still have that. Oops. All right, so you still have programming / engineering, right? And then you have AI bots. Let's just have one AI thing. But, to make the thing, right? Instead of the program, let's have the program, So what is it program once again? Input. It's really just a pipeline, right? It's input, then there's something in the pipeline, and then output. Have some programming, right? Have some programming blocks. But just like we have the AI, as the AI gets better, all of a sudden now I'm as a programmer engineer better because now it's doing things better, right? We've built into like a time function into what we're doing, which is essentially as the change over time increases, right? I really can't draw right now. I'm sick. Bro's still in the Matrix 4, yeah. But basically, as the time gets better, these models get better. Right, which then makes the programs get better. Why can't we just shove in AI here, AI here, AI here, right? And make it the input that goes to AI, to AI, to AI, to AI to make output. Because then we're still using AI to make the systems, right? Make the prompts and stuff. But then, just like time makes the me being able to program better, and it's true, it's objectively true, we can see that basically over time the ability to program is getting better with AI, right? That's just like a foreseeing thing. Well, if we make systems that over time get better by virtue of the AI getting better, we just have to make the systems don't have to be perfect right now, and then over time the systems will get better because the models will get better. And we just plop in the models, we adjust the programming, we adjust the systems to work on the models, right? And as a result, then the systems we have themselves get better, right? So what people are selling you, there's a lot of different people are selling you, like they sell you weird things, and it's like, well, this is like just going to be replaced by AI. This is just going to be replaced by Claude or Claude Code or Gemini, because what they're doing is somebody makes a tool, and the tool is voice chat, right? Or the tool is OpenClaw, and then okay, that's cool. But at the end of the day, somebody's going to make the exact same version of that, and it's going to be closer integrated to the system. But what if it's like a pipeline of things? And yeah, you could hypothetically do that, but every step is exponentially less likely that it gets replaced. You know what I mean? 2 + 2 = 4. It's true. Dude, but I'm so sick right now. I'm still sick. I'm getting over it, but I figured I should make money streaming. And do it. But with that thinking, I decided to make this, which is an AI summarizer. So let's just go. I'll find a YouTube video. And the reason I want to do that is just save time, right? We can just save time. It's honestly, instead of dealing with, that's like the goal is not to make it where it's like you shouldn't consume content because it's bad, or you shouldn't consume content because you should do other things. I want to make it so myself, I'm like, well, I could do this, but I don't feel like doing it, right? That's the goal. The goal is to essentially get it to where all content is slop. All right. And so if I can do it for myself, then now all of a sudden all my time is free, right? If I'm saying, oh, I'm spending my time worrying about this, spending my time consuming videos, spending my time listening to podcasts, etc. One thing I really found over the last few months is that like just spend your time doing one specific thing, right? Unless you're streaming, then 15 things, because really the main thing you're doing is entertaining people and just discussing things. But essentially, I was thinking of, how do I combine all these different ideas of like slop and like content generation and stealing people's content and stealing people's ideas and making money. And as you'll see, I've just made a very simple thing. This is not workable at all, but we're basically like my whole idea is making these systems that are using AI integrated into them, and then basically pulling things out. And if we can do that, right, and just pipelines too, everything's just a pipeline of data, right? So the data comes in, right, whatever it is, something happens to it, and something comes out. It might not be the data, it might be something completely different. But usually it's like some mana. So for example, like this is all the different pipelines. And then you go over here, right? This is a pipeline. The data goes in, which is the America First URL. And then the video gets pulled out, right? And then it gets pulled through. It gets sent to an API. Once again, I'm basically selecting for speed, for time. So instead of doing local transcription, I'm sending this off to a actual transcription service, which does diarization. And because of that, that's faster, right? And then it just basically creates voice prints, right? No, there's no voice print, Over here, voice, it has a voice print for Nick Fuentes, accept that, right? This will be automated, but it basically creates sections of the entire video, right? And then it creates tags, right? It creates these tags, it creates all this stuff. This is a bunch of data. I'm not going to be looking through all this. It doesn't even need to be right? But it's creating all these different tags, and this is just data points for future things. So the sooner you get it up and running, the more you can then, work on it later. All right. And then, it does all this stuff. And my unique idea of slop as a 37-year-old Matthew Bernard Evans. And basically, this isn't going to, then take mechanistic takeaways, all this stuff. This is just creating a bunch of slop. It's creating, from real content. But we're going to be tagging stuff, tagging different things. And then we're going to be turning that into a signal engine. What does that mean? We're just creating signals that are, tagged here, right? Just so much different stuff like concepts, theories, whatever. Tags, Iran, positive, negative, it's going to get more detailed as time goes on, but it's going to be a huge thing of slop. It's going to be a huge thing for like machine learning. And then basically it's also now tracking Polymarket and tracking crypto and tracking other stuff, right? And it's creating signals. And it's just going to be doing that. This is not anywhere near workable or good at all. I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm like, in terms of this is like, what's his name? Tier delusion. The idea that it's going to work is like, what's his name? The Marine guy, the genius Marine. What's his name? But essentially, basically just learning how this works, kind of. Not to have it work or be like have it cool, but basically it will create paper trading and link, terms and, correlations to signals or whatever. Ideally, we just want to feed in a bunch of stuff. Right now, it's very simple stuff. It's very basic stuff. But we're going to have it start feeding in. This is just for creating a transcript. I just want to create a YouTube video. Let's create a YouTube video. Not create a YouTube video. And just basically have it back testing and have it basically grabbing different channels and different positive correlations, negative correlations. And then if something's a negative correlation, that's a negative signal, right? A negative correlation between like somebody saying stuff about Iran and then gold going up or something. That's still good. Anything that's not meaningless is meaningful, right? So even if there's a slight edge, if there's a slight correlation with somebody like Curtis Yarvin talking about cryptocurrency and then cryptocurrency crashing, right? 5 months down the line, if you have enough data of that and you can basically accurately say, oh, this person is slightly, when they start talking about something, it's, a good example is Justin Murphy. I identified this and it's 100% true, is Justin Murphy, whenever he starts talking about some idea or concept or something like that, like he started talking about NFTs, it's about to crash. It's about to be meaningless and worthless. He starts talking about Logo de Dalius, right? He starts talking about my Twitter career. Now, I'm the only one who's like, the only one who's the exception to the rule, honestly. That's the rules, not the exception to the rule. But Bronze Age pervert, all this stuff. Near reaction, Curtis Yarvin. It's like right when it's about to become meaningless and stupid. And Nick Land, all this stuff. Jocko says good, but that's a signal, right? So you could have once Justin Murphy starts talking about, let's go to Justin Murphy's YouTube channel, right? That's a good idea. Let's start feeding in Justin Murphy. But ideally, what we want to do is we are trying to track it as stuff comes out. So I could do this properly. I could do it where I'm grabbing all this data and then trying to figure out how to tag it. But I think it's more fun to kind of learn what I'm doing and even thinking it out loud, right? And talk about it, because I'm showing you guys where I'm at with it. And also myself to really, what do I understand? What don't I understand? And then instead of being drowned by a bunch of data, essentially, oh, Marlon Dubois streaming. There goes my audience, dude. Basically, instead of that, have it in real time, where it's basically like, I'm learning how this works. Because basically our idea is to make signals, and then not just signals. We're doing this for signals right now, but as we're ingesting a bunch of data, we're basically summarizing a bunch of data, tagging a bunch of data, being able to get opinions, right? Or being able to get opinions. Right now, this is kind of the sued thing. I don't really care about that right now. If we can start, that's like a cool thing to do. That literally I just started working on yesterday. Yeah, the actual thing I'm working on is the actual ingesting videos. So let's go over here, right?
All right, as you see in the title of the video, I need to swallow.
So we'll go over here. I just paste it in here, right? Boom. Grabs it, downloads it. It's downloading the audio of the video, right? So this is like one thing I was doing, right? So this is like the first thing I was doing. And this is when I realized I really just want to use everything outsourced, right? Outsource as much as I can, which is, instead of having local models, the only really time I've run into a problem is when, damn, so it is actually uploading the problem. Damn, okay. That's interesting. I wonder why I drop frames when I upload stuff. That's kind of weird. I guess there's no, that's interesting. Paul, have you ever thought about it like this? Middle finger? Yeah. But essentially, so I figured, why not, let's get rid of all the reason making like prototypes and stuff is fun with this is the delay is so much smaller, right? And the having to wait for, it's like the reason programming was kind of is really cool now is because it's so fast. You can work on all these different ideas, and with that you can learn a lot of stuff if you're creative, if you're curious, not even relating to like using AI, but just like how different things should work and like different terms and concepts. And you can just try out different ideas way faster. So why not do that and take it to a logical conclusion with this, which is like, instead of trying to figure out how do I set this local model, how do I try to set up that local model, how would I actually use APIs, right? How would I actually use Venice.ai? How would I actually use, and for the summary, it would be, for the transcription, it's using, what's it called? Where's this stupid thing called? Not stupid. It's called Assembly AI, and that's just basically diarization and transcripts. And then that way we just speed up as much as we can and get as much data as we can, right? And then ideally, one thing that's cool we can do with this is we can set it up. The only problem I ran into with is trying to transcribe Nick's show, because Nick's show has so much stuff about Jewish people. So I had to literally use Venice AI. It was good that I was using Venice AI, of which I have tokens, because I essentially couldn't create summaries of transcripts of Nick's shows without using an uncensored model, because every time I would do it with Nick's thing, it would be like unfounded conspiracy. Instead of just creating a summary of what he's saying, not saying it's true or false, it would just always go to like crazy person talk about Jews and conspiracy theories. Whereas with the Venice uncensored model, it can just say, okay, it's about Jewish influence, claims. It's not saying it agrees or disagrees, but it's actually nice. Why not fetch the auto-generated transcript from YouTube instead of transcribing? That's something you could do. And that's something I can do, but I'm not worried about that. Right, so that's like, yeah, I could do that. Right now, we're just doing about getting the actual process of like taking audio, because ideally what we want to do is we want to not rely on things changing, right? Because what if the transcript changes from YouTube, right? That sort of thing. There's certain cool things, right? The API can change, but we're just trying to make it where it's like what we actually have is like we're coding these blocks, and then the glue between them is large language models or vision models or machine learning models. Because if you can get it working, right, eventually that machine learning or that large language model is going to get better, right? So, right, the summary model, we can just then switch out the API for, moving from Opus 4.6 to Opus 7.5 or whatever, something like that. All of a sudden, that's just even better, right? The structure is still there, the prompt's still there, the actual programming, the skeleton is still there, but we've just swapped out like this little thing of processing right here, right? You know what I mean? So what we can rely on, what we can set up to rely on large language models or machine learning that works right now, and this does work right now, that's just going to get even better as time goes on. Right? So now we have that, right? Open here, open dedicated page, right? Creates this. The dossier, right? Whatever that means, but it sounds cool. And some of this stuff is redundant, but once again, I'm not worried about redundance. I'm just worried about this stuff, right? And so it's like, it doesn't really matter, right? We're not trying to, this is a cool thing, right? So like, there's also a cool thing about doing this is like, I was worried about doing this. I'm like, I'm not going to even want to watch or listen to anything anymore. You still kind of want to watch stuff. You still want to enjoy stuff, but we're just ingesting data. So now this is in like the, that sort of stuff. Okay, that picture is scary. Weird how AI is programmed to sympathize with, yeah. Yummy Grand Arch is what I got from, dude, the Grand Arch is good. That actually is really good, honestly. It should be a little more fresh, but I gotta say the Grand Arch is good. But ideally, so what we have right now, what I have set up is I have cron job set up that will basically just download the latest Nick episode and then you convert it to this format where it has, the references, and once again, these aren't all right. We're not trying to get everything right now. We're trying to get the general shape. Like if you look at how like a good way to think about AI stuff that I just made up earlier, and I was like, damn, this is a good way. Let me turn on the light 1 second. Is stable diffusion or image diffusion, and how it works is we can actually watch a video of it. Image diffusion actually it's just a bunch of lines and dots and random noise, right? And that's how it starts. And then you're describing what you're making, right? And I think that's kind of how people should be thinking about integrating AI into programs like this of what I'm doing, is essentially create like the dots, the vague outline, like the vague thing. And then as, the actual muscles, which is like this, it's like taking stuff and moving it around and changing it in some way. That's going to get better. And so now you've added a time function to how you're developing stuff. You've added a time function to how you are, the value of your system, where as time goes on, the muscles are going to get better. As time goes on, the glue, the parts, such as the analysis, right? That's going to get better because the models are going to get better. So if that gets better, the models get better, your system gets better. All of a sudden now your entire structure like this by itself, right? This format of pulling in data, ingesting it, and then creating signals from it. And just by virtue of the fact that it's related to computer models, a year from now, it's going to be exponentially better than it is, even if I didn't touch any of the code. Because, I'd have to touch some of the code. I have to basically adjust the models, right, to make it better, to use the better models. But it's going to have a better accuracy rate. It's going to be more concise. It's going to pull out better signals from it. And so now there's a time function to programs. Does that make sense? Isn't that kind of goated? Why buy the AF membership plus membership at $100 a month? The hypothetical AI Nick just costs $10 a month. Might be wrong. I think the YouTube transcription is only on non-age restricted stuff, and creator can disable it too. Well, I mean, there's some value to that. I mean, that's like a thing too. That's like a signal that's worth like even looking into. Like that's like a thing Like ideally you want to do this with everything, right? So we can do this with audio. We can do this with RSS feeds, because all it is just taking audio and turning it into a thing. There's computer vision stuff we want to add in. But stuff like this, it's like, this basically just is going to pull in this. And then, you know, we have this set up, add source, and this will run. This is a cron job, right? I don't even know how cron jobs work. I know they're cool, though. I need to learn how they actually work. Basically pulls in this and then basically tags it and writes custom rules, right? Pulls in this, you know, for today's tweets, today's things, right? And then we got, you know, Keith Woods. We got all the channels of Telegram that are worth using for Signal. Right. And that's the thing, too, is like a really good signal would be what's his name? Wyatt. Wyatt's like a really good signal because he's so bad at things. He's so bad at predicting things. Ideally, what we want to do is you want to pull out predictions and we want to pull out outcome statements, right, from people, whether it's me, whether it's from Nick, whether it's from Keith, whether it's from Wyatt, whether it's from Dalton, and opinions and vibes, and then map to where they have the highest correlation, right? So then you'd have outcomes, right? So you'd say the war, did it happen? Did it not happen? That's the nice thing about is we can use well, even this audio, right? How I'm discussing things. I'm going to pop this when I'm done with this. I'm going to pop this into the API, not for this necessarily, for the summarizer. Maybe I will. But that's where it becomes interesting because basically then you can just have this automatically, you know, catching streams, you know, whether it's and then, you know, some things I'm going to be really, really on point with because I'm really tapped into certain things, right? Some things I'm going to be right, but I'm going to be totally wrong on the time scale, right? Some things I'm going to be totally wrong because I'm retarded about certain things and I view the world in a certain way. Same thing with Nick, right? Nick's going to be super right about certain things, the different time scales, that sort of thing. And the game is each person has specific things they're good at and specific things they're bad at. And the track, because once we get enough data, as time goes on, you just have all this data, right? What is this person really good at predicting, and what is this person really bad at predicting? Because maybe somebody like Wyatt, he's never good at predicting anything. Wyatt sucks at predicting everything, right, on Twitter. The fact that he's bad at predicting something is a good prediction. Because if he said, Nick will never become president of the United States, because he's really bad at predicting stuff, he's made a prediction that this will not happen. So there's probably a higher chance, higher probability, you know, in some way that's going to happen. Now, that's not really actionable, that sort of thing. Same thing with Dalton, right? Dalton, he might be somebody who hops onto trends late, right as they're becoming cringe, right? I don't know. I'm not saying he did. Maybe he's hopping on right before they become cool, right? You could then tie that to a trend of something, right? That sort of thing. You basically, but the game, the real value here, right? The real value is not to think about it that way. We're thinking too precisely. The goal is to turn it all into abstract, like fuzz, right? Abstract things that we're not labeling and we're not analyzing and we're not paying attention to and we're not categorizing. The computer is. The computer is categorizing it, and it's like incomprehensible to us. And it's not really valuable to us. It doesn't really make any sense to us. We're not really seeing it. We're not really saying, oh, well, check if Dalton is going to be a month ahead of, you know, trends on this. Or when Justin Murphy gets into this, that's when things start to get really bad. We're not really, our goal is not to be thinking like that. Our goal is just ingest all the data, the signals, ingest all that, and then map it to outcomes in financial markets. Once you do that, once you find any sort of correlation that's above, you know, 0.5, any sort of signal that's consistent, and you can do that by then combining, you basically just have it, just combining different sources of signals and just smashing them together and finding similarly grouped ones, differently grouped ones, and then having it run. And I'm not really sure how to do that properly yet, but we're not even up to that point yet. But essentially you do that. Once you do that, now you have a better than average prediction, and that's, now you have infinite money. You know? Fuzzy tools, yeah. My signal tracker has change detection to IO support, which is just an RSS feed. Yeah, and then this is now you just then you win big on stake.com. Yeah, exactly. But my whole idea too is my idea is a little more vague. My idea is 642 viewers. Irish Groper, thank you for the sub. Hit the follow button if you're new to this. Hit the follow button. Yeah.
Anonymous sent $5. Hi, your voice sounds hot today.
Thank you. That's because I'm sick. My voice does sound very hot. That's probably why I have so many viewers. But I am taken, so don't even think about it. That's not appropriate. We don't talk like that anymore. Anyway, no quant firm and Walter's using Dalton's tweets as signal. Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing too, is that what we're doing here is just learning. We're having fun. It doesn't like this isn't like something nobody else has come up with. This isn't like what I'm doing isn't even the best way to do it, right? What I'm doing is I'm making slop content. Let's zoom out a little bit, right? I'm telling you guys how to do something, and I'm not really even explaining how to do it, but I'm making money doing it, and potentially going to make money or be able to, organize. Because at the end of the day, this is where it's very interesting too, because like we're making signals, right? We're getting signals, and then we're trying to correlate the financial markets. You don't need to correlate to financial markets. All we do next, right, as we go along with this, is we turn this into a tool, a front end, right? We're going to turn this into a front end that doesn't look like this, that people can pay for to summarize their own content. Summarize, I want to watch Nick. I don't have time to. Let me know, what he posts, right? I just want to follow. This person's interesting, right? Paul Town streams or whatever. I don't really have time to watch 5-hour streams. Jimbo Zoomer, it's cool, but what is he actually covering? Asmongold or Destiny or, even the nightly news for my area, right? The nightly news for Alaska. I want to follow it, but I don't really care, right? I don't really care. And then through that, I get paid from that, right? Make a system like that. Also, getting paid, people are paying me to do that, right? I'm then getting all those signals, right? Those are more and more signals, right? And as we're building out signals, then there's more, people are paying me to do stuff. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's additive. So not only am I making something, I'm also then finding out, well, people from this area, they like this content. That's also signal, right? 30 people who are signed up to this, of the 4,000 people signed up paying, of 4,000 paying customers, 30% of them all of a sudden added this YouTube channel. That's a very high signal of something, right? I don't know what that is, but then you just pop that in, right? So then that gets weighted. That's another signal. It's like urgency, so then we just get all these different metrics, right? And then there's first order, second order, third order stuff, fourth order, fifth order. I have this hypothesis, and I think this is going to bear out. I don't even know how I'd even do it, but I have this hypothesis that like you can track it, like basically if you block out sections of data, you can create pairings and like rhythms and see rhythms of stuff that aren't really being tracked because everything's being tracked so linearly or weirdly. I think there's weird ways of like taking second order, third order stuff, fifth order stuff, tracking across orders. I don't even know how to describe it. This is like Lucas Gage territory. So like, that's where it's like funny. But once again, we're playing additive games. So if somebody makes fun of it, now people are watching my content, right? People reacting to it. Trying to create the Gumroad Gold Rush when the $5 month hits so good. Yeah. But yeah, essentially, and then we just create people who are really bad, right? What's a really good source of bad signal? Where can you think of any place on Earth where people seem to be really, really have bad judgment? It would be Reddit, right? So then we use Reddit as like inverse signal for stuff, right? And that's still a good signal. So like, that's the stuff we can do. And also not even for making money in that way, we tie it back into the slot maker, right? And we have it because it's tracking all this new content. Create a influencer that has Nick Fuentes, Sneeko, Aiden Ross, all their different opinions on Iran turned into a new opinion. And now it's an internet influencer on Twitter that is adjacent and just doing stuff. And then also We tie that into the clipping, and now it posts clips and interacts with people because it's ingesting tweets and it's ingesting Telegram. And it looks like all these different things, but really it's the central brain. It's the central brain that is doing all this different stuff. It doesn't need to do everything perfectly, right? But it's all just a central brain of a ton of data. And, boom. You know what I mean? Boom. And then you just have infinite slop. You're making money and analyzing stuff. And then you're also, poisoning the well for other people, right? Because then you start to find out good, now we go to the next level, right? You start to find out good sources of, signal. Now, once you find out good sources of signal, you start to see other people have good sources of signal, right? So then you find the best sources of signal, and then you find out ways to crush the signal and destroy the signal and give out fake signals, because then you're going to get people, you can say, oh, well, this signal works, right? I see how people are doing this. You're tracing, okay, people are doing this. Well, what if I put a roadblock over here, mess up the signal here, cause these bots to do something that's unreasonable, and then crash the British pound, right? Now you're George Soros. See, that's like what I'm saying is all this stuff is all, it's basically, this is what the game is. The game is just saying a bunch of nonsense and then making your chat think it's real and then getting subscribers, getting 1,000 viewers, Just being additive. When you get sick, you watch. Oh, we were watching One Piece. That's actually really good. We're watching the live adaptation. It's actually really comfy. Very good. Bro wants to be the puppet master. No. Richard Stroker is real and makes money. No, but that's the game. The game is being additive. And also there's cool stuff. Like it's an interesting thing to think about, because basically what we want to do, I think the best way to do is there's got to be teams of slop. Right? And I think the way we set up the teams of slop, right? Let me record this, actually. I got to record this on my, make sure, test. Yeah, all right, there we go. So what we want to do for our summarizer, I think what we need to do is we need to have for the markets testing, we want to create teams of signals, right? Paul's ViewBotted. I'm not ViewBotted. These are all real donations, all real viewers. All right, 1,000 Richard Strokers are watching. Anyway, so I think what we're going to do is we need to figure out a way to have different ways of testing strategies. So in order to do that, we want to create different teams. So what we'll do is we're ingesting a bunch of stuff, and then based on, I think, cosine similarity or some sort of similarity of tags. Yo, Goated, thank you for the 5 subs. Texoma Groiper. And I think what we need to do is basically have it where we have some sort of pipeline that looks at different channels and different inputs and different, that sort of thing. So we'd have different YouTube channels, different subjects, different voices. Right now we have people. Maybe have different people by their speaking and their tag rates or whatever, and their content rates. Somehow, some sort of way of sorting what they're saying, and then grouping that with people who say things similarly, and that way we create similar signals, similar channels of signals. So we have people. So maybe we should have another sort of thing where it's like, some sort of channel. I'm not really sure how we want to do this, but we want to essentially have it where, for the market testing, we have, for the signal inspections and the pattern registry, etc. We want different groups of patterns and different groups of signals and different groups of forecasts and correlations based on different groupings of people. Because we're eventually going to have right-wing people, left-wing people, libertarian people, pro-capitalism people, pro-communist people, different sorts of people and different sorts of opinions. And those should all start being grouped by how they talk about things rather than their official claims, right? Whether they like or dislike people. And that way we start getting different, channels of ideas and opinions. And this is really, now that I stopped recording, that's why, I had to stop for a second. But I'm thinking of things as, this is really Schopenhauer, okay? This is really Schopenhauer. And my whole thinking of reality is very Schopenhauer, where it's like the world is will and representations, if that makes sense. Happy some real ones, but yeah, thank you for the subs, by the way, I appreciate it. But I think this is where we're at. I think the world is will and representation, right? I think an accurate view of the world, and this is going to be so abstract, I don't even know if it's going to make any sense, so I'm going to pop this in here. All right, pop this in. Is that this is the world, right? Whoops. But this is everything, right? And I think things just pop out. Like, this is phenomenological, right? And things just kind of like, they pop out and then they go back in, right? They pop out and they're visible and then they go back in. It's like a dolphin jumping out of the ocean or whatever. 1 second. And I think that's how everything is. My train of thought got, disturbed a little bit there, but I think it's all like phenomenological. And I think that is essentially what's going on. And I think different things like pop up, or different people. It's like my whole idea of philosophy is like a general Geist or a ghoul or a Geist or a spirit of philosophy that moves around over the earth, right? And then that's why certain geological areas or geographical areas are philosophically relevant. Like if you look at the 19th century or the 20th century, it's like mostly French philosophy is actually correct. Whether it's a lull, whether it's like there's a different guy, whatever. Yo, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you very, very much. And then before that, you had Germany. Now you have me, right? And you kind of look at philosophy, and you have Lucas Gage, right? And I think it's just like technology and like resources, and they all combine, and then it creates an environment of like the society is dead, and then there's people who are, Lucas Gage level IQ. And then basically they have a lot of free time, and then they have a new aspect of technology that lets them explore an aspect of reality, blah, blah, blah. And you think of Germany, you tie to the printing press, the Gutenberg, whatever. I don't even know. But, and then you have, France, same thing, some sort of technological advancement. I don't know, the telegram or something like that. So they could do like weird sexting or something with other French people. And then you have America with the internet. And then you have that sort of stuff, and blah blah blah, all that, right? John Angelo Gage is Lord our struggle, yeah. Yeah, this is cool. With the years worth of data, you'd have enough data to easily ask, has X person's stance changed in Y, and get a straight answer with dates, location, circumstance, and tags for similar people, topics. Yeah, that's the thing too, is there's the aspect of what I'm doing, which is like, oh, it needs to be sorted. And I'm trying to do a bunch of different things, because that way I have to think about how do I want the data to be, because I'm just starting out, right? And we're kind of building it from my worldview and how I understand things, because that way, as time goes on, I'll be like, okay, that is the wrong way to go about it. But I know from ground, this is like something from boxing that's like really, I've kind of found is like true in everything, which is like, how do you build a house, which is like from the foundation up. It's like, how do you build, get good at boxing? You have to get good at jump roping and cardio and stuff. Thank you. But yeah, essentially, how do you from the principles, like first principles, but like in a non-gay way, which is like, how do you get good at boxing? You have to get your, start from literally from the ground up. So it's like jump ropes and running in place and like squats and like shadow boxing and like footwork and all that stuff and like running and all that stuff. You kind of like, that's really honestly the way people lose in boxing is like cardio and like not being able to move around and not being able to do that stuff. And I think that's kind of what I'm trying to do here. is just start from the ground up with this sort of thing, where I'm thinking out loud and I'm doing things. I'm not going to do everything right, but basically I'm going to know exactly why I'm doing what I'm doing. And even if I'm wrong, then I'll be, okay, that's why I was wrong. Right? Does that make sense? Wow, is Paul botting? I'm not botting. I'm just popular, dude. How am I botting? People, I'm just on the front page, bro. Anyway, but yeah, I think that's... W's just keep coming back for more. I'm getting recognition. That's why. But I think that's the value is we're going to have these transcripts, which are data, but it's all going to be data I'm collecting. I could grab data and make data, but the thing is I know how I'm doing it, and that way I can tease stuff out of it, because we're not going to lose the transcripts. If the transcripts are, you know, if we adjust how we pull the data from the transcripts and that sort of stuff, we can do that at a later date. It's not a big deal. And that's like, you know, that's fine, because that, you know, this way it's like I know exactly how I'm starting. I know exactly what I'm getting. I know exactly what my goals are. And then as my goals change, I can adjust how the data is and pull things from it. Because my whole thing is like, I think you can kind of like figure everything out if you just stared at one thing or two things long enough and thought about it long enough. Like if you just stare at something and see it change a little bit, the moment you can identify a little change, you can identify some other change, and you can infer something else. And when you infer something else, you can infer some other change, and it kind of ripples out from like anything. And I think that's really like how reality works. I don't think you actually need to really life isn't that hard. Yeah, good. And you stop eating like a fat, disgusting pig. No. Let's watch this video though. Paul, why are you botting? I'm not botting, dude. Stop trying to say I'm botting, bro. But this was, and that was like an example. I was like, what I think is good is, you know, the real question will be if the KCIP is any different. But I will see. Anyway, the question is, what use will this be? Who knows, right? This could suck. It could completely have no use. Or, you know, the summarizer page where it's like people use it just to, you know, that could make money. Or it could save me time, right? Or it could just be fun, right? Or it could end up actually showing like, hey, when this happens, there's some weird advantage in the, you know, in money things, and there's some aspect of money that benefits my finances, right, in some way. Or I understand something else that makes, you know, what it, you know, who knows how it benefits my life, but it does, right? That's really the key takeaway, and that's the stuff I've said with like the cat. I'll say it again, the cat video example. It's like the important thing to realize is a real cat video and an AI cat video, both are fake, because neither are the actual cat. Both are just a representation of a cat. Both are completely fake. Both are just a digital representation of a cat. One is more based on reality, and then one is not, you know, really based. It's still based on reality, but it's a step, you know, removed. But at the end of the day, the value of the cat video is, does this make my life better or worse in some way? Now, it could be that I'm sick and I need to pass time, and rather than getting upset at politics, watching this cat video is worth doing because it just kills time. So yeah, it's benefits. Or it could be that I need to go, you know, I need to be focused on the road, and if I watch this cat video, I'm gonna, you know, hit into the side of a building and die. So there, it's like better not to watch the cat video. Or I need to work on studying school. So if I do this, I'm gonna get a bad grade, and it's gonna make my life worse. So it's better not to watch the cat video. But at the end of the day, the real value proposition of everything is not, do I agree with this? Do I not agree with this? Is this moral? Is this immoral? Is this good? Is this bad? Is this pro right wing, anti right wing? Is this gonna make me richer? Gonna make me poorer? Is this going to make people like me or dislike me? It's like, is this good or bad for me? And so that's really where, like, how you have to abstract everything out. Where is this good or bad for me? Is this good or bad for my soul? All right. Or you can go higher than that. You know, what's before the soul? You know what I mean? that's a conversation for a different time. But that's what I'm saying with this project and all the other projects we're doing. We're not aiming for a specific goal. We're not actually aiming for like the titles. What I'm doing, like exploiting World War III. What are we? We're not. What are you even talking about, right? But it's really about staying in this vague realm of like, is this benefiting my life or is it harming my life? If it's benefiting my life, good, right? Okay, it's good. So now I'm not worried about it. If it's harming my life, like for example, when I was having the internet problems, it was like, this is harming my life because this is making me annoyed. And it's actually really annoying me. And it really actually kind of annoying me to the degree where I'm not enjoying my time. And I might be able to stream, might not, but I'm not going to be able to make good content. And it's just annoying. So I said, oh, I'm not going to stream. I'm just going to wait for my internet to come in. And instead I'm going to watch Pirates of the Caribbean. And that benefited my life because I was like, well, who cares? I'm just going to do something else. And also I was working on this, right? The more we talk shit, the higher the KCIP goes. Is that true? How'd you fix your internet? I bought internet. I bought a different internet service and set it up. Goated. Thank you, Cozy Wisconsin, for the subscription. I appreciate it. To King Laffy. King of the Pirates. Anyway, but yeah, we've been watching One Piece. Very good. It reminds me of if Lazy Town wasn't for pedophiles. That's really, it's like a mix of Lazy Town, Pirates of the Caribbean, but like no pedophilia. I will say there's like a little, they do like the weird new thing of like Zoomers. This is like a Zoomer thing. I'm not even saying it to bait you guys, but their thing is like the men need to be good looking and the women need to be ugly. And that's like how it works, which is a very weird thing because it's like odd. I think it's like related to SSRIs or something, but it is like a thing that you'll notice. It's like younger millennials and then Zoomers, their whole idea is like the men need to be good looking and maybe you can see their butt or their penis, and then the women, they all need to be weird and ugly. And that's like, it's not totally the case in this show, but it is partially the case where you're like, what is going on here? Why is it that the women are always like, why is new content all the women are ugly and like gross? Not all of them, but most of them. And then the men are like weirdly good looking. But maybe just I'm getting gay. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe I'm just, the testosterone is turning me gay. And I'm like, damn, why are all these? But anyway, that is like a thing that's like noticeable. Where it's like, anyway, I should stop talking. I need to drink my eggs. Let's watch the golden one.
Alright, as you see in the title of the video, I need to swallow my pride.
But it is a good show. It is a good. I don't like anime, so it's a good show.
Probably know we have an election upcoming this very year in Sweden, and we have a
Agree or
unique
disagree?
opportunity to save beloved
Protect the
Sweden.
gay peptides.
So a lot is at stake. I'm not gonna blackpill if we
No,
lose.
but that is like true. Like if you look at, if we did an analysis on like videos, I guarantee you the scenes of women naked would go down, which I don't necessarily have a problem with, right? I'm not saying this is a problem. It's just something worth noticing, which is that women naked is less, and men's penises and men's butts are way more. And like it is a thing. Like the rate of change is like flipped. Where it's like, what is going on here? Why is it that men's asses and penises are visible and women's breasts are not visible? You know what I mean? And once again, it's not to say I agree or disagree with this. It's more to say something has happened. Right, so that's like the thing to do. That's what we're trying to do with like the summarizer, and that's what I'm trying to teach you guys to do with stuff, and myself to do with stuff. Is not to be like I agree with this or I disagree with this. It's to be more like something has happened. What is actually happening? This is phenomenological, right? This isn't the point. The point isn't that now you see a man's butt or now you don't see a woman's breasts on TV. Right? The point is to say that something has changed underneath the surface that makes it so now you see a man's penis when you used to see a woman's breasts, right? And so you say to yourself, what has changed underneath the surface that is causing me to look at a man's penis rather than a woman's breasts? Does that make sense? And that's how you need to be seeing everything, right? And it's like the same thing with Twitter, right? It would be if we were just saying, wow, damn, there's so many bots online and it's all bots and it's all sucks and it's all the same stuff. It would be like that. We were missing the point. That's true. But we should be asking, why is that happening, right? And then once you say why that's happening, we should say, okay, well, what is our proper response to it? Rather than saying, oh, I don't like that there are bots on the internet. right? They'd be like, oh, well, what is the actual proper response, right? So you look at the landscape, and you look at the things that are changing, the resources and the way technology has changed, and you say, okay, well, if, just like philosophy, I think moves across the reality, right? I think philosophy is like a thing that it's a combination of resources, and I said this before, resources. Yo, thank you very much.
Cozy, we just gifted 1 subscription on Kick.
Goated, right? And I think just like philosophy and like the spirit of philosophy moves across the world based on resources and based on the technology and based on altitude and based on population groups. We need to be thinking to ourselves, the spirit of, all right, so we have the spirit of philosophy. What's the spirit of that we're trying to embody, right? The spirit of what? Excess? No, right? We don't want the spirit of degenerate excess. The spirit of anger? No, we don't want that, right? We should start to try to map out. Maybe that's like a cool thing to map out. Maybe that's another project we can try to figure out how to do, is map out, the different, like the new sphere, right? That then maps to like ideas of like wealth, ideas of like health, ideas of anger and hatred and despair and philosophy, and figure out how they're connected, right? Because they definitely are. There's like a mapping. I don't know how to even map it, but 100% there's like some sort of tapestry that we could like map out, and then figure out how they move, right? And then you figure out how they move. How do we get into like the success and wealth zone of doing things? You know what I mean? And figure out these different dimensional mapping. I just sound like a crazy person. That's the thing. I sound like an insane person, and I guess it's okay. I guess that's the thing too to think about, is that I saw there's a Twitter thread, and it was true, and I agreed with it. That's how I know it's true, because I agree with it. They were saying how like AI is just making everybody crazy, and they're talking about like talking to Uber drivers, and they just sound like insane people, because they're like, the one Uber driver thinks Iran got like totally destroyed because he saw AI videos. So I was like, yeah, they're just not reporting it. No, they didn't think. It was like a Muslim guy. He thinks that Israel's been nuked off the face of the earth because he saw footage. And they said, yeah, they're just hiding it. But really, Israel's been destroyed completely. And then another person said that, like, it's all related to the Epstein stuff. The Iran situation is all related to the Epstein stuff. And he saw the proof of it based on, like, YouTube and stuff. And, like, footage and, like, leaks of documents. And these are, like, their Uber drivers. And I think this is, like... there's something I said is like basically like, if you're surrounded by crazy people, the sane thing to do is not to be like, I'm a normal person and I'm sane, right? You have to figure out, how do I get away from the crazy people without them realizing you're not crazy? Because if they realize you're not crazy, they're gonna try to kill you, right? Because they think you're crazy, because everyone around them is crazy. And I think we're just entering a time where everything's just unstable, because it's like everybody. I could be completely stable, be completely mentally sane, not use any AI, right? But that doesn't matter if everyone else around me is like off on their world adventure in their brain about going to change the world, right? And I think it's important. It is important personally to be like, well, guess what? I'm still a person, and I have this life experience that says, hey, guess what? You can make really bad mistakes. And also, chances are you're going to make really bad mistakes. And also, chances are it's, your plans are like limited, and you're not actually going to end up, figuring everything out, and it's not going to be perfect, because at the end of the day, that's true, right? Even if you embody that perfectly and you avoid that level of like hubris, the Paul Town, Lucas Gage hubris, right? And you don't think you invented a new philosophy, and you haven't solved world history and philosophy, right? There's going to be a lot of people, and most people, who are going to believe they have. So I don't even know. I'm not even saying that in terms of like what you can do with that. I just think that's like an unstoppable truth that we have to deal with and like realize and really internalize, is that I guess it would say that like, I guess you could probably map it to like streaming, where it's like when the internet's going out, I just don't want to stream, because at the end of the day, it's miserable to stream. And it's very, very miserable to stream. And it's very like, it could work for 30 minutes and then it starts going out. So like, it's better just not to stream and do something else with your time. because you never know when you're going to hit like a patch of craziness where the internet just stops for no reason. And I think that's probably how to map it to like, yeah, 5 out of 6 interactions with normal people might be normal now, and they might have a good grip on how reality works and like the path into the future. But you might just not want to try to interact with normal people in a way that's assuming sanity anymore, because you're going to hit that 6th person and it's going to be like dealing with a crazy person. So it's kind of like streaming, where it's like, yeah, it's like really good to do when the internet's working. But if you're hitting a patch of period where your internet's going out every 6th minute, or there's like a 6% chance every minute, you know, or whatever, what's 100 divided by 6? Whatever, 15? No. That's about that. 15. That's a pretty good actually estimation. That's not a bad estimation, honestly. I'm kind of surprised that's actually really good. Actually, I'm kind of impressed that I did that off the top of my head. Anyway, it just shows I'm like legit about to go Lucas Gage mode. I think that's probably the best bet, is like to just assume companies are going to break down, because let me finish this. Let me push play here, and then I will talk more about how society is falling apart.
But I will also be realistic and say that we will be in a very bad situation should, God forbid, the Social Democrats win, because
God forbid, I'm going insane.
They can simply implement something similar, a similar tactic as the left did in Spain. So give out citizenships and voting rights to third world immigrants, and they will of course vote for left-wing parties. So a lot is at stake, so therefore at this moment in time I need to swallow my pride and say that I will do whatever I can to support the Sweden Democrats to the best of my abilities. And now you might ask, what does this have to do with you swallowing your pride? Yes, it's simply because I find myself sometimes I need to defend the Sweden Democrats, because many of their politicians, they say stupid things, they do stupid things, and overall it's not a party I don't even think I would be welcome in the party.
Right. I haven't even gotten the Jimbo host yet, and I already have 1,200 viewers. That's goated. Goated and real. Finally. Yeah, guys, I don't know. It's actually kind of interesting game theory. Huh. Anyway, I'll just think of it. Anyway, what I was saying is, imagine you are an employee at a company and you want to get a raise, or you don't want to work as hard, right? And you have any aspect that is automatable or on the computer. Like if you're a slight bit intelligent or slight bit like driven, even if you're incorrectly driven or you're malicious or you're not like wise, you're going to say, I'm going to use AI to like save time or get a promotion or institute a feature that gets me a promotion. That's cool. But you got to think about that. But in addition, with like the, 1 out of every 6 people just going to be a crazy person. 1 out of every 6 people at the company who are doing that are going to be a crazy person who's going to be delusional. So there's no way, in my opinion, that we're not about to get like systems breaking and like companies breaking, because all the incentives are there for the employees to be like, oh, I'm going to automate my job. Oh, I'm going to create this feature using AI, blah, blah, blah. Oh, and then like 1/6 of them are going to be crazy people who are going to be like, and I have solved time travel and I've came up with an algorithm for solving time travel, and it will backdate everything and blah, 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 and I will become the boss of the company. Blah, 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 blah. And then like, they're going to be pushing code. They're going to be changing things about the company. So how do we not get in like a year, 2 years, like most companies literally just being completely broken? And then like, because that's like, there's like a saying, and I forget what it is, and it's not related to AI at all, but it's like, it's easier to destroy a system or build a new one than it is to fix a broken one. And that's literally true. That's like once you have a system that's broken, it's easier just to build a new one or to destroy what's left of the broken one than it is to fix the broken one. And so that's what we're going to get. We're just going to get a bunch of companies that are broken. Everything's going to be breaking, and everything's going to get worse. Sorry, Paul, but nothing ever happens. AI will be used to counter AI. No, that'll just be like the problem. That'll just be like the that's going to happen, but it's not going to be good. It's like, yeah, because it's like Substack, and it's like the people who are good at writing and the people who are good at selling and the people who are good, like the actual earners at a magazine, they all left their magazines because they said, oh, I can go make more money at Substack. Right. Same thing with YouTube. People who would be like working at a, BuzzFeed, they're like, no, instead of working at BuzzFeed, I'm going to work at YouTube. Right. I'm going to become a YouTuber. Same thing with Twitch for political people. Instead of going to do nightly news or trying to work at a news office, all the people who are actually talented at talking and very driven became like Twitch streamers or on Rumble or YouTubers. Right. And the annoying ones too. It's going to be the same thing with AI, where it's anybody who's learning how to do it and is interested in doing it well, they're going to go away.
Consumer sent $5. Put a custom Steve Franson voice in the TTS.
Goated. Put a custom Steve Franson voice in the TTS. I'll have to ask Jimbo how to do that. I'll have to talk to Jimbo how to do that and get it set up. But what you have to understand is like, goated.
NorCal Zoomer sent $5. Put a custom Steve Franson voice in the TTS.
I didn't hear you say it again. Maybe I will. Yeah, I think like the same thing will happen with AI, where it's like all the quality people are going to be doing other stuff. It's like what I'm doing now. That's like what's so exciting. What's so fun too is I'm doing this and I'm making money doing it, and I've had job offers from it, like from doing this. And that sort of thing, different opportunities. And so it's like very cool because it's like, this is like the very beginning of it. And it's like, we're not there yet, but it's like all the stuff I'm learning how not to do things, how to do things. And that gets pulled, people pull you aside. They say, hey, could you do this? Can you do that? And it's like, awesome. Because this is only going to get better. That's the thing too. This is only going to get better. And as it gets better, the stuff I can do is be better. I'm going to have more experience with that sort of stuff. And like I said, I think the important part is pushing against the edges, right? The edges of what it can do to where you're breaking it, where it's not able to do it. Because then you realize what it can't do. You realize what are the limitations. What are the limitations? Because then once those limitations are gone, you know, oh, it's gotten better. And then you go out to the edge of the map again, right? You go out to the edge and you try to find, all right, what can it do still, right? What can't this do? Because then you're realizing, oh, it got better in this way, it got better in this way, it got better in this way. And by virtue of constantly pushing limits, you're constantly learning what you can, what you can't do, why you can't do certain things, why you can do certain things, how certain things work. And yeah. And eventually it's going to get to the point where it's like, that's like going to be the freaky part. It's going to get to the point where it's like you can't find what it can't do, and that's when it's over, and that's when really the craziness begins. But I think we're at the end. I think we're at the end of like companies, because I don't see how companies don't, every time, because what happens is too, there's going to be dying companies right now. There's dying companies somewhere, and they're going to be forced to actually get good at AI to replace departments and to replace processes that they can't afford to employ anymore. And they're going to actually, some of them are actually going to succeed. And then all of a sudden they're going to switch from being dying to being better than the companies that were dominant, because they were, through force of like desperation, they were forced to integrate stuff actually on a real level, rather than just like lazy employees who are like, oh, I'm just going to automate my job. And I think that's like the cornered animals thing, like dangerous animals are, when they're cornered, are very dangerous. And that's very true. I was like, that's when they're most dangerous, because they're cornered and they're like desperate. So you don't know what they're going to do. Think about that. It's like, think about failing companies and failing people and that sort of stuff. And it's like, they're going to be like, okay, I'm going to go all the way into AI. And they're going to have like the drive, they're going to have the purpose, they're going to have the stuff, and they're going to really just get really, really good at stuff. You know what I mean? And I think there's going to be a lot of like dying companies that are, maybe that would be a good bet. Maybe that would be a good bet to make, is that dying companies that provide some sort of service are like going to end up being very successful, because they don't have like the same cruft, and they don't have the same level of inertia, and they're kind of just flailing around. So they're open-minded, and they're able to basically grab onto like a last gasp of hope and really embrace it, because they know they're going out of business if they don't. You know what I mean? This war isn't going to help. Yeah, and I think I said this on Twitter yesterday. How's the game going? I haven't worked on it in a while. I was actually thinking about maybe working on it tonight. I'm not sure though. I feel like this is a fun thing to do. The game is good. The game, I haven't worked on the first person shooter one, because I haven't gotten the AI working for that for the pathfinding properly. So I don't know. I just kind of, it's too frustrating to deal with. And I'm like, I found like this avenue of like, oh, I want to work on this. But I think, and that's like another thing I've been thinking about, is that the potentiality is almost more valuable than the concrete products right now. It was nice. I was able to work on, this concrete thing I'm working on now, which is like the summarizer, and then creating signals from the summaries, and then not the summaries are something else, but like the transcripts, taking signals from the transcripts. But I think, I don't know. I think having different potentialities and different potential projects, that's like something that I found is very interesting. Is like a positive thing, is having so many different projects that where none of them are really actually getting that done or getting well done, especially now because everything's so up in the air. None of them are actually getting that finished, but it's actually like feeding your brain of like, oh, what about working on this? What about working on this? Now, if I wasn't streaming, I'd have to be doing something, right? But I think this makes it more into like an entertainment thing, where it's like entertaining to you guys because it's like, hey, oh, I could build this. Oh, I could build this. Oh, I could use it for this. And it's beneficial to me because I'm making money doing it. And once I get all these ideas, and just say I take a break from streaming, then I can just lock in on stuff. Like I have like a week, and I made this like project despite being like bedridden for half the days, right, from dying on my bed, being sick. I was able to really just be like, I block in and make something actually kind of really cool. So I think making, being in the proper context and doing that, I think that's kind of like the key to winning, is like understanding what context you're in. And I think with streaming, I think the context is really like using your imagination and like planting seeds that you let grow a little bit, and then showing, where you're doing gardening. Like basically like everything should be like a gardening channel, where you should basically be planting little seeds and then go back to them like a month later and say, hey, by the way, when you weren't looking, here's what it's at. You know what I mean? That's wisdom. That's not just knowledge, that's wisdom.
Because I'm still a right-wing extremist, you might ask, what have I said? What have I ever said that is extreme? No one can ever point to it. Dear journalists, you've had over 10 years. I'm sure if I'm so extreme, you should.
I'll show you guys. Actually, you know what I'll do? Something. I'll show you guys a project I've been working on. I'll show you guys a project I've been working on, which is really cool. Let me see. Let me pull it up over here. Well, this is playing.
Any one of my positions that might be extreme. So no one has ever said I was wrong about anything, by the way. I'm still unchallenged. No one has ever proved me wrong about anything. Sounds a bit cocky, but yeah, it's basically true. So
Swedish people are so funny, dude.
Swedish
people are so.
Society,
I guess I don't know. Swedish people are white. I don't know.
Still, so that
I don't know if Swedish people are white actually. When you say stuff like that, like that's not a white person. White people don't talk like that. That's like non-white.
So
that's really how non-white people talk, honestly. That's like Swedish people just got disqualified from being white.
My pride. So I'm supporting a party, and they would. If it were convenient, they would throw me under the bus, and
Belgians might be the only white people
from me.
Danish people and Belgians
to not have to take a fight with.
Definitely not
the
Polish people.
So
I'll tell you that.
It is what it is, but it's not about me. I'm not the center of the universe. The main thing now is that we can give Sweden a bit more extra time.
But then a person says that.
So
nobody's ever proved me wrong.
For us to actually save Sweden. The
absolutely
number one priority is to make sure that the Social Democrats, they do not get back into power. Because if they do, we will be in a world of pain. It will not be pleasant in the least. So we're already suffering, many of us, due to, just costs of living. I've talked about this before, rising crime.
Broke ass.
Now I will also say the
broke
following.
Ass, get your money up.
Again, God forbid, the Social Democrats
broke ass.
It will
Already
not
start a
be
kick
an
stream and
immediate
gamble on
collapse.
kick
Sweden
on
will not go into civil
Stake.com.
war. It will not
I
be a
won big on
collapse. It will just be a
Stake.com.
continuous decline.
I used to be a
into
broke ass
Brazil
Swede.
or South Africa. Worst
I used to be
case
broke.
Scenario. So that is what
Then I
will happen.
gambled big.
1% more
On kick.com.
expensive living costs for every year, 1% more tax, 1% more violence, 1% more criminality, 1% more corruption, and so on in a continuous decline. That is what awaits us should the Social Democrats win. So what we need to do to actually put the ship of Sweden on a better course so that we can actually restore our land. It will not be easy, a political victory. It will not be, something that.
Sorry for double super chatting on the Steve Ferris thing. It glitched. Oh no, you don't have to apologize, dude.
A long way ahead.
One thing you don't have to apologize
But
is
we
for
need
sending
two
me
things
double the
happen.
money you
One,
intended.
for
That's one thing you don't
the
have to
Sweden
apologize for.
Democrats and the
Is when you
moderates
send me twice the amount of
to
money you
form a
wanted to send.
coalition next year.
Hey, no worries, dude. I
upon,
forgive you.
A victory.
It's all
so
good.
we can get a bit more time. So I'm not
I'm
saying
not
that
even stressed
things
about
will
it,
be a lot better should they win. So they are in sort of power now, the Sweden Democrats. They have to negotiate with 3 other parties, the moderates being one of them, and then 2 smaller parties, the Liberals and the Christ Democrats.
Yeah, I feel like
So anyway, the second thing.
I feel like we're just swimming up the river. You know what I mean? Now, eventually, you swim up the river far enough, you realize there's another river to swim up of entirely. But I feel like that's what we're doing, is we're swimming up the river. Because at different points in the river, different things like pollutants and stuff get like dumped into the water. Like when I was growing up, I lived on the side of a mountain, right? And that was the best water I've ever had because it was from a well on the mountain. And because it was on a mountain, right? Now it's a New York mountain, the Catskill Mountain, so it's not that high, but it is, a mountain still. There wasn't as much land, so the water would fall from the sky, right? And it would have less pollution before it got to the well. So you would drink it and be really, really good. And I think that's what we're doing. We're coming up the stream. We're going up the stream. We're going up the mountain. And we're getting water from higher up. And the closer we get, the less pollutants we get. And, the closer you get to the source, right? And you look down, you're like, this person seems like sick. You know what I mean? And you're like, damn, this person looks sick. And then you think, haha, I'm higher up in the mountain. You know what I mean? And damn, sure enough, this person seems sick.
That needs to happen.
And then I go back on stake.com and make a lot of money.
And this is something I've said, I'll keep saying it. Young men, especially men, some young women
filter
as
through the
well,
limestone.
need to go into politics and push these parties in a healthier direction.
NorCal Zoomer, thank you for the follow,
the
dude.
Sweden Democrats now with a lot of power, second
OICW Godhand celebrates their third month
so
for
they
subscriptions.
don't
Thank you.
become weak,
Awesome.
So they don't become complacent and comfortable and, they're happy and satisfied with just getting some crumbs off the table from the rest of the parties. So we need good, young, driven individuals or older individuals in the Sweden Democrats to push things in the right direction.
We need that, and if we don't get that, something's going to happen.
Moderates, by the way, and you can be completely sincere in being just a very much anti-socialist. It's perfectly fine because we talk a lot about immigration and of course closing the borders and initiating remigration. First priority, no doubt about it at all. But even so, we have a lot, especially in Sweden, we have had the Social Democrats in power for a long time, and they have stifled so much creativity, so many businesses, so many geniuses of the Swedish people. So even though we have been suffering under this yoke, and forgive me for sounding a bit dramatic now when I say that we've suffered under a socialist yoke, but it's still true. It's still true. And that's something we need to clear out. The big state, big, bloated, ineffective state, which thrives on ever higher taxes. So the tax system, as we have it right now, it's not good. We need to restructure
back to what I've been working on.
And we can only do that without the Social Democrats. So anyway, I need to swallow my pride. I need to humbly accept the fact that...
Damn, bros are full on elf. Hey. But yes, I like him, but I feel like sometimes... Anyway, this is like, so for example, this is like another project I've been working on. Where is it here? But yeah, I'm just working on getting good signals. It's called Kick Clipper. This is half of it. No, see, not this one. Oops. Little secret project. Is Jimbo Zoomer live? Let's see. Yeah, he's live, dude. Yeah, I don't know how he has so many viewers right now. But yeah, it's this tool that basically takes a rolling average of the chat of any streamer, and then basically takes a rolling average, and then basically from there, it will find out, okay, for this type of channel right now, this many chats per second, that sort of thing. And then, it'll take the rolling average, and then once the chat spikes over a certain rate, it will then say, okay, there's something funny that just happened or something worth clipping. And then it'll set a timestamp, feed that to a Clipper account, right? And then it'll monitor the chat. And then, once it falls under a rolling average XYZ, whatever, it'll then, say, all right, the clip has ended. And then it'll feed it to, the timestamp. Then the other program will then grab the video by that timestamp, plus minus X amount of time to essentially make the ratio of time, right? And then it'll feed that audio into a transcription, take the transcription, analyze the transcription, use a computer vision model, and then find out what that is, right? What it's being talked about, what the chat's saying, that sort of thing. Once again, the way this works is partially using LLMs, partially using computer vision models. And so over time, as stuff gets better, it'll get faster, it'll get better. And, it'll basically, once again, this is going to be fed into the other summarizer. Right? So what we're doing is we're basically building all these ways to automatically ingest stuff. We don't need to get everything working perfectly. We just need to build up all these tools. Once we build up all these tools for these different forms of content, then we can work on making the forms of content be processed properly. Then we just get signals. And then you don't even need to watch anything. And the nice thing about that, and I'll say this, is that I've done it where it's like having this set up, you actually value watching things more because you're like, oh, why do I want to watch this? Do I need to watch this? And you read the summary of something and you're like, I still want to watch this. And then you don't feel bad about yourself because then you're like, I know what it's about and I'm still enjoying watching it. All right, I've kind of spoiled the surprise. I've gotten rid of the slot machine aspect, but I still think it's worth watching. So I want to watch it. And you don't with everything, but sometimes you're like, this actually still sounds interesting. Let me watch it. And then you're like, okay. So then it's feels better about it because then you're like certain things. You're like, yeah, you know what? I went into it knowing what I'm looking at. I didn't want to have this meal. It's like imagine going to a restaurant and then every time you go to the restaurant, sometimes you get really good food that you love. Sometimes you get food that you hate. And you're like, why am I doing this with your life? And then you find a way to all right, here's the menu and here's what you're going to get today if you go, right? Sometimes you're going to be like, this looks like it sucks. Other times you're like, this is awesome. Yeah, I'm going to go. And you're not going to feel bad because you know what you're having. You know what I mean? I left to watch Paul Town. I hate Paul Town. He is evil. Watch Veda. He needs support right now. I have both of your streams playing. We got to spread the love. LOL. I like 1,212 small characters on a keyed layer reacting. You can create a little visual audience that's rendered and chatter can visualize themselves. Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, and that's what's freaky about this too, is once you get a brain that works, all right, this is the big reveal. Once you get the brain that works, you can create a chatter. Once you create a chatter that is indistinguishable from real, all you need is an IP. Then you just get kick money for infinite kick money, and you basically just have under the radar channels that are AI that are barely human, and you just run 15 of them, boom, now you're under the radar, you're making money. Fake IDs, right? So you're basically using fake IDs, fake tax information, family members, friends. And then they're hitting 400, 500 viewers a day. They're each streaming 7-8 hours a day. It's all bots. It's fake. How do they know, though? You know what I mean? Because you just have bots set up. So this is why I think the internet's like doomed. There's no way to really... What is the path forward? There's no path forward. You know what I mean? You have them play poker against each other, too. Paulton, what do you think of Amazon holding a meeting about their employees relying too much on AI and all their software being full of bugs? It taps into technology being masculine or feminine. Technology is inherently masculine. And what I mean by that is men are valued by their ability to enact their will on the world, right? It's like, that's why it's like a big penis, haha. But it's not that. It's more like, being successful, being rich, running a company, being a warlord, right? Killing somebody, being a criminal. Those are all much cooler than I am an accountant and I work and I make money. And it doesn't matter. The accountant might make way more money than a criminal, right? But a criminal who kills people, who steals stuff, who does stuff is a lot more attractive and a lot more masculine, right? Than an accountant who got rich investing, right? That's really that's cool, but not really masculine, right? Same thing as a woman. A woman is defined a lot by their protectiveness of themselves, by their ability not to spread their legs for everybody, right? Whoa, you're getting a viral chat, Jimbo. But anyway, this is like an example of a signal, right? This is a signal that's derived not by an LLM. This is a signal by, so what would this signal be? This signal would be, there's a clip, right? And if you get a good signal, then you basically extract the value of the signal, right? And then that's an example of a good signal. So this makes decent signals, not perfect signals, but decent signals. And, once you get good signals, it's really about making good signals. If you can get good signals, that's really, I think, the goal and the game. And I think it's such a simple thing. That's why it's so distracted from. And that's why everybody who's good at it is like telling everybody not to do it. But I think we're at the point where it's like now obvious enough that where the point is not actually making good signals because everyone can do it. The point is now selling guides on how to make signals. It's like the people who are making the money, making business guides. They don't actually have a business. It's like PVD, right? Or whatever his name is. He doesn't have a business. He makes money telling people how to have a business, how to have a business. All right, it's like all these pickup artists. They don't actually make money being a pickup artist. They make money telling people how to be a pickup artist. That sort of stuff. Signal boot, yeah. And I think that's where we're at. But anyway, technology is masculine, right? And what that means is you can have female applications of technology, which would be like a firewall, right? It's protective. It prevents bad things from happening. Or a airbag, or a filter for bad words, right? But all those, if you think about them, all those are all reactive to a greater force, right? So firewall is just reactive to people sending viruses and trying to, make a lot of money making viruses and ruining computers, right? Airbags, that's technology that was invented to prevent, of a car, an engine propels the car forward really fast. Crashing the car still happens, but you want to mitigate the cost of crashing the car, right? And so meetings, right? What is it? Technology is just organizing information. Meetings are just like a form of technology, which is organizing structures to say, hey, it's like a firewall against the technology. But what that means is like the masculine aspects. You can have a female application, just like a man can be very feminine, right? A man can be very emotional or gay, right? Or in their feelings, right? And that can be like but at the end of the day, a masculine person, and a man in their proper form is being aggressive, getting stuff done. It doesn't mean being emotionally aggressive, but being aggressive, getting like things done, being positive, being driven. And that person is going to be more of a man, right? That's a better application of a man. And it's a more powerful application of a man than a homosexual, because a homosexual just can have gay sex and die, right? So that's, whatever. Or they can bitch or they can critique the guy who's a masculine guy. Well, they don't really do anything. It doesn't really matter. It's the same thing with this. It's like, that's a very feminine application of like, stop using, it's like meetings and technology, to stop using technology. The masculine application of LLMs and machine learning is ingesting data, generating data, and manipulating data, and just generating data. The feminine application of LLMs, all right, is summarizing data, and it's like slowing data down, and like basically that's really all it is: summarizing data and like filtering data and summarizing data. What's going to win is going to be pushing data forward and slop. That's what's going to win, because it's the masculine aspect of it, and the masculine aspect of the masculine beats the feminine aspect of the masculine. Bro, see by you, I'm telling, they're getting clever. I'm a person too, not a bot. You're actually talking to yourself in a white room. Yeah, that's what it feels like sometimes. But that's, once again, it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter. Anyway, what is it? Yeah, I don't really care about this. But yeah, this is an example of a little project I'm working on. And it works. But yeah, we're basically just building up. Really is like, the way I see things is like, build up this giant thing that I just can ingest a bunch of data and then have a bunch of tools. Because that's all Claude is, right? The reason Claude is so cool is because it's basically just using an LLM, and then it has a bunch of tooling and a bunch of prompts. And so why am I not doing that? You know what I mean? Why am I not just making a bunch of tooling and a bunch of prompts for like a sentient creature, or a creature that is going to have a bunch of data and a bunch of things, and then just, all right, pull out this tool for this tweet, pull out this tool for posting to Twitter, pull out this tool for looking for, you know, stuff across markets, pull out this tool for looking for, this tool for arguing, pull out this tool for making a video, pull out this tool for making a, you know, meme, that sort of stuff. Oh, there's a cool thing. Let me see if I can pull it out. Let me see if I can find it here. There was a cool prompt somebody did. I thought it was a literal meme, but it wasn't. I thought it was like a joke, but it was actually real, and it's freaky. Let me find the actual video. It's kind of like probably millennial Kino. I don't know if it was Kino to you guys, but to me it was millennial Kino. Somebody asked Claude just to make like a video with FFmpeg. It's just literally just Claude. And this is all they asked. And I thought it was literally just, I thought it was a meme. I thought it was like a, they were lying to go viral, but it's actually true. Like, I did it in my I did it in my Claude, and I did the same thing. Not the exact same thing, but it made something similar. But then I made one. It was like cooler. This is like from the, like one prompt. Isn't this crazy? I think all through code, through like Python. Kind of freaky. But yeah, this is basically just the end of like, it's just basically created like all the art of like Milady people and angelicism and made it better. And it still sucks. Dude, isn't this freaky though? Don't look, this is MK Ultra. I like the part at the end where it says, send me your money. It could do a stream for you with FFmpeg if you gave your stream key. Yeah, well, that's the thing, is like, it's a cool thing, but it's like, I don't, like, we'll do it again in the future. This is the one it made. But it's just, it was like an idea. It's like, I hadn't even thought about that. Like, so a lot of cool ideas you can probably do. It's just like, make cool videos and stuff. Or memes just based on this. Looks like that Red 5 clip. Yeah. Shh. Look. You gotta let people think it's like they're like really cool and like doing cool stuff. You gotta make people think they're like original. Because that's one thing that is like really funny that I found that like is very different between me and a lot of other people. Not everybody, but like people who seem to get like butthurt about like ideas, and like if they think somebody else made the idea first, they'll be like mad. Or if they think somebody took their idea, they'll be mad. And it's like, no, it's like the ideas are cheap. It's like they're everywhere. It's like, you should be honored if someone takes your idea. That should be odd. Like, you should be like, oh damn, that's cool. I guess somebody else likes my idea. Somebody else is like thinking the same way I'm thinking. But I found people tend to be very like, that's why people get mad about AI stuff. It's like, how dare you? You can't do this. I did this. You know what I mean? When people steal jokes, nah. Lol, you are coughing up fun stuff, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's cool. I mean, it's like kind of crazy that it's doing that. But let's go back to here, find out what's going on.
I'm not the center of the universe. I am in no position to create a party of my own. First and foremost, because I don't have the financial.
Yeah, I don't understand what. I think this is like, it'll be interesting too. It'll be like very boomer tier. Because I think there's like, in these people's heads, I think like you can. It's either you care about stuff or you're like a nihilist who like, I don't care about anything. I'm like miserable and I'm whatever. It's like, you can also just be like post that or whatever, where it's like, I wish it would be awesome if you what you cared about mattered, but it doesn't. And so because it doesn't, I'm not going to even waste time really trying to convince you it doesn't. But also it's like, I'm not going to like, I'm going to move on. Like I've moved on. Like these people seem blind to I think the people seem blind to like thinking it's like the end of like cognition, like their stance, where it's like they think their stance is like the, well, this is how it is, and this is how the reality is always going to be. And I think that's like where you almost have to be like thinking about, like even like about this where I'm at right now, where it's like I could come care about politics again in the future, right? It's like you have to ask yourself, could you care about politics again in the future? Yeah, if something changed where like all of a sudden it matters, like yeah, 100%. I just don't think it matters. I think it's like we're moving upstream from it. But it's like if it changed, I like found out I was wrong, or like I found like something changed where all of a sudden AI or like what I'm doing is like very relevant to like whoever is in power, then yeah, all of a sudden it matters. But it's like, I don't know, these people seem so trapped. They seem so trapped in like when they got famous or when they got attention. And I think that's really what it is. I think a lot of people, they get trapped where like wherever they get their attention and they start to matter, or they feel like they matter, they feel like their opinions matter, at that point it crystallizes at like, okay, they say like drug addicts, they stop maturing at whenever they start becoming drug addicts. So like if I become an alcoholic at 25, as long as I'm an alcoholic, I'm just going to be 25 mentally forever, right? If I become addicted to cocaine at 22, I'm just going to be a 22-year-old until I stop being addicted to cocaine or die, right? And I think it's the same thing with social media, where it's like whatever age people tend to get like celebrity or they tend to get attention, for whatever reason, they stop maturing and they think their views that they have then are like, they just don't until they go do something else. And the thing is, nobody goes and does something else. Like I feel like I'm one of the only people who ever do that. I can't even think of anybody who actually does go and does actually like say, hey, guess what? I can go do something else. Now, maybe it would be different if I was making a ton of money, but I don't really think it is. I think it really is like, I've always been that way, where it's like, even when it was like whatever, like Twitter stuff, it's like whatever, it's fine. I've never been. It's like peaking in high school. But the thing is, if drug addicts get sober, they tend to speed up and they start to mature up to their age. Like once they become actually sober, it just takes some time, and then they speed up to where they catch up. They catch up fast. And there's some benefit to being like immature at a certain age and then catching up, right? So there's some benefits. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's what's going on, where it's like these people just are stuck in like their ideology or their view of like whenever they got some sort of validation, the first time they ever got validation. But also because I think politics is related to like losers and like unpopular people generally, and like miscreants and people who are just miserable. And I think I've always just been popular and people always like me. And I'm always just chill and swag. Not to be like bragging, but I'm always like kind of cool. I'm always like a cool guy who's like swagged out. and like the best. So I think I never really got really attached to the validation on the internet. I did like the money and the lack of work. That's like something I have become accustomed to, and I really like that. And I don't want to give that up. But in terms of the social validation, that's just like a side needed thing to get the money. And I think that's where it's different. I think other people, to them, the money is like secondary. They're like, oh, people think I'm smart. And then for me, it's like everything else is secondary to like, how can I make money without having to do any work? How can I make money without having to look at a computer or talk to anybody or ever interact with anybody for the rest of my life? And everything else is secondary to that.
Backing for it, second of all, because we have no time. What we do have time for is
I don't know.
a
Maybe I'm
victory
just a crazy
now,
person.
and that good individuals go into these parties and push them in a different direction. So
I think I'm going to start taking human growth hormones.
And besides, I can also do more good outside of the political system.
Apparently it makes you sleep really well.
Reshaping
also,
the way
it
people
makes you
think.
taller.
And then later on, in 10, 15, 20 years, I will enter politics in some way. But that also requires for people to, go in and push these parties in a better direction. It also requires for the Overton window to shift further right. It also requires the mending, the healing of the spirits of our people to continue, because right now
it's really just the realm of spiritual purification. I think it shows how much you care about politics. It's like the more libtarded and unpure you are, the more you care about the world, right? Because you think you're the world. Right? And the more close you get to enlightenment, the less you care about your external things, right? So you go from the world to your country, right? From the country to your political party, from your political party to your race, from your race to your family, from your family to you. And the final step is from you to your essence, which is your spirit, right? So if you still care about your body, you're not fully enlightened yet. And then once you stop caring about your body, you shoot yourself. No, but then your soul. But right now, it's like I'm at the level of enlightenment where it's just me and my body. You know what I mean? Me and my fam. You know what I mean? But I'm past. I've become so enlightened. I don't care about politics.
Very sick. Thinking in a way that is not beneficial.
Maybe you just do heroin. Maybe that's the final step of enlightenment. You just OD on heroin and your body goes away and your soul escapes.
I said this in the latest live stream I did, not even long ago. Everything was always framed in what is best for them? What is best for these people from the third world?
Just become a Buddhist monk, recluse then? Why give a shit about AI? I don't want to do that, dude. I like food. I like fast food. I like movies. I like travel. I want to snowboard in Japan. I want to go to space. I want to go to the Washington rainforest. I want to get jacked, dude. What are you talking about? I got stuff to do, bro.
So the
argument for
reducing immigration to Sweden, it was, we can help more people there. So the thinking was still not what is good for us.
I have other people I want to watch die.
So
that sounds dark, but not kill them, but like, I want to outlive other people and make other people suffer. I want to see other people fail. I gotta live long enough to watch other people fail.
This doesn't even have to be an ethnic thing. You can be any Swedish citizen and you can still want to have law and order. So I'm sure if you are from a third world country yourself...
Dude, Far Blaster, I'm not reading all that for $3, dude. I'm watching the golden one, dude.
To work, you wake up early, you go to work, and you know that your taxes, they go to...
Add a zero to that.
It goes to...
I'm gonna be like Sneeko, add a zero to that.
So it's completely unfair. It's a very sick system, and I think every sane person can agree with this. So, and also I will say the following, that there is always, a few guys who feel super intelligent and intellectual when they say that voting doesn't matter and politics is bread and circus.
Yep. Also, in addition to that, is that being a man, I'll say it again, is identifying a problem, announcing the problem if you want, because if somebody else has a responsibility to take care of it, you should announce it. That way they can have time to fix it. If enough time goes by where they don't fix it, You don't keep bitching about it.
Roy just subscribed on Kick.
Thank you very much. You don't keep bitching about it. You say, can I fix it myself? Or do I move on? Do I live with it, fix it, or move on? You don't keep bitching about it. That's called being a bitchy woman. And that's like what all these people are doing. And it's true. And that's like, it's like I could never bitch about the same thing over and over again. Right? I would basically like kill myself. It's like I really wasn't enjoying streaming. I went away. I did something for a year. I wasn't enjoying, working on the Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi wasn't working. I wasn't enjoying that. So I went away. I said, can I fix this right now? No. I'm going to go watch Pirates of the Caribbean. I'm going to go sleep. I'm going to do other things. I'm going to do programming. This idea of like, it's not only is it insanity, it's very bitchy. It's very feminine.
And everything like that. I'm sure you feel super good with yourself, but I'm asking you for 20 minutes every 4 years. It's not a big deal, and yes, it does matter greatly whom you vote for. So, for example, I'll say something good.
That's not an argument.
The Sweden Democrats and
that's
the
not an argument. Sorry.
They reduced
one vote will not matter
cost
ever.
Of gas and diesel with like
actually,
50%.
it does
so
not
I've actually
matter.
Saved a small fortune
Big Arch is good,
on that policy change. So thank you to the Sweden Democrats and the moderates.
Talking and stream equals feminine.
They've done a good job.
No, the difference between that and what I'm doing is that this is making money, and it's for the express purpose of making money. Like, I'm not complaining like, hey, we need to fix the country. Oh, it's like my thing is, hey, I want money and I want to entertain myself and I want to do something. So I'm going to do this. Ta-da. Now I'm doing what I want to do. I'm not like, I'd rather be doing other things. But I need to talk about the Democrats and the Republicans because it's bad news and we need to vote. Oh. And that's the difference. I want to make money from streaming. I want to get free money to stream, to like do other stuff and work on AI stuff and interact with you guys and have fun. Scammed, exactly. And I want to do that, and I'm doing that. And so like my thing is not like, if you notice my tone, how I'm coming here, it's like kind of chill. I'm kind of like having a good time. I'm not like, oh. And his is like, it's really important, guys. And if we don't do this, something bad is going to happen. For me, it's like, if you guys don't give me money, I just won't stream. And that sucks for you, but I don't care.
Overall, I'm still very disappointed, but I know that they have
laughing to the bank. Paul Dunn's hairline, you are being
the Sweden Democrats now
punk.
Because they have gotten better. A few
5
years
minutes.
back, they weren't as good as they are now, but now they have actually gotten more serious.
1 hour
Same
actually
thing
for
with
you.
the
You know what?
moderates.
Actually, an entire
10 years
day.
ago, they
You know what? A
were
week for you, dude.
an
You're timed out for a week.
absolutely
You're so
horrible party.
negative.
Now they've taken a few
You've been so
steps
negative. You're timed
in
out
the
for a
right
week.
direction at least.
There goes my hairline.
So yes. Anyway, if you want to do me a favor, also
That gesture. My hairline just got banned for a week.
Fair, and that is that should the Social Democrats win,
I struck him down, dude.
they will
Say
stop
goodbye to my
harassing me,
hairline.
which you might think I sound dramatic here, but
Mars
this is
Burl
nothing
Group,
strange.
thank you
can
for
see
the
state
subscription, dude. Appreciate it.
harassment, all throughout Europe.
Jiggly Love, thank you for the follow.
That might happen. So if you have 20 minutes to spare,
You've
come
been smitten.
autumn, then go and vote for the Sweden Democrats just to make sure that the Social Democrats do not win. So again, you don't need to think that
My hairline's
the Sweden
been banned from
Democrats are
chat,
the best guys ever. It's the best party ever. You don't need to agree with them 100%. You just need to realize that if they win or if they get,
See, like what these people don't understand too.
Cheese underscore chomper just resubscribed. on Kick.
Goated. Thank you very much. What people don't understand too is like none of this matters. Okay, you're all being told to look this way because it's what really matters is technology. We are phenomenological. All right, these people were supposed to be philosophers. We're illusions. As much as a cloud is an illusion, humanity is an illusion. All right, and this isn't new. I've said this before, but like everything is just on rails. And there's infinite rails, and you can define different switches to turn the switches, right? And that's like a different discussion. But we're just a reflection of like technology and resources and time, and the ethnographic demographics, whatever. That's how you know I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just start throwing in random words that rhyme. But the demographics and resources and technology and, you know, how information flows and how we act is a reaction of how I'm acting is a reaction of that. How this guy's reacting is a reaction of that. And none of it is real. It's all just an illusion. Now, if you're in an illusion, but it's making your arm hurt, it doesn't mean that your arm doesn't hurt. Your arm hurts, even though, and it might as well be real, even though it's fake, right? So you should say to yourself, well, my arm hurts. My arm really hurts. It's being chopped off. I thought this is an illusion. It's like, well, yeah, but there's rules to the illusion. I never said there wasn't rules, right? The rules are you have to make it so your arm isn't being chopped off. And if your arm is being chopped off, you better figure out how to not have it chopped off before the rest of you gets chopped up into little bits, and you feel like you're forced to be miserable. Like if you feel like you're being forced to be miserable, just step back, right? And be like, okay, I'm not actually being forced to be miserable. I'm just not looking at it in the right way. I need to look at it different until I see how I'm not actually being forced to be miserable. And once you do that, you'll be happy forever.
In power together with the moderates, they can give us some time, which we need. And they can also...
Are you saying to blow everything off the rails with technology? Yeah.
A bit better of a direction, which is needed. And the alternative...
Yeah, what is existence even? ODs. Yeah, exactly.
Now, but it's,
and that's the thing to think about too, is like, life could get so horrible. And this is going to sound really weird, but it really does make sense if you think about it. It's like, at the end of the day, you could just pay like $100 and get fentanyl and just OD. But when you OD, you'll have like the best OD ever. You'll like literally just be happy. And you'll go into the next world, whatever it is. So really, we all have this escape hatch at any time of like just being super high and being swagged out. So really, at any point, you can leave the game for like $100 and like just leave the game like happy. So who really cares? You know what I mean? It isn't that serious. It never has been that serious.
It's a nightmare scenario, to be sure.
Can somebody send me $100?
That is my position. So if you see me promoting the Sweden Democrats,
I might be misunderstanding you. Is that what you mean? Is this what you mean? And you're not saying no one should ever care about politics, but that it's pointless to talk about and stress about all day if you're not doing anything about it. Like it's completely unshameable to care about and be wise regarding politics, especially if you have a family. But it's feminine to sit around talking and not do anything. Kind of. I would say it's like politics is kind of a scam. But if you can benefit from the scam, it makes sense, right? If you can make money from it and you can benefit yourself, trick yourself into being healthy, trick yourself into being a better person, treating your family better, treating yourself better, having a better family structure, then yes, it makes sense to participate in politics. But if you're like me and you say, oh, technology is overriding society, society is going to collapse, basically turning it into a free-for-all, it's like, would I be talking about politics if I was in Hurricane Katrina, right? If you're in Hurricane Katrina in the aftermath and you're in a little kayak, are you going to be talking about politics? No, you're going to be talking about how to survive. What's the next move? Should you go rob a bank? Should you go, before you leave, he'll hit up a pharmacy and steal all the drugs to sell later, right? Should you go to a bank or a jewelry store and try to get as much jewelry as possible and get really rich, right? That sort of thing. Or should you try to escape or find family members? What's the proper course of action? I feel like we're in a Hurricane Katrina situation, not a society situation. We're in a situation where you have... The world has changed. A hurricane has hit the reality of society. And that hurricane is like AI and machine learning. And like just everything, how it's changing that. And because of that, now we're all sitting in kayaks. And now I'm saying, hey guys, we're in kayaks. Let's go team up and steal stuff. Let's go team up and steal jewelry, drugs, money, guns, ammunition, food, and then let's leave. Because this isn't getting better. Let's not go with the other people in kayaks who are talking about like who are going to vote for in the next election. Let's go steal stuff before everyone realizes what's happened, and let's get out of here because it's about to get really bad because people don't understand what's happened. There's a hurricane's happened. We're in a kayak. Wake up, Mr. West. Wake up, Neo. You're in the Matrix. Let's go steal drugs, jewelry, rich clothes, and technology and leave before everyone else gets out of the Matrix because we're in the Matrix. Wake up.
It's not because I agree with them 100%
You know what I mean?
about everything. It's not because I think Jimmy Åkesson is the best person ever. I will say
Leave
though
to
that
wear. When somebody says something like
May-
that, that's how you know they're still in the Matrix. And you don't want to wake them up because you're trying to steal all the stuff so far. You don't want to wake them up, you just want to take all their money.
in a few decades it will be my time to shine. Now, this year is not my time to shine. Now it's time for Jimmy Åkesson. It's his turn to shine, so I will support him, even though he would probably not support me in any meaningful way. But, you know, I'm not the center of the universe. I need to do what's best for my people and country.
Can Claude
at
manage
this
a blind
moment in time,
trust?
and that is to make sure
Dude,
that
money
he
is
gets
like
as
not what
many
you're
votes as
looking
possible.
at right now. Money is worthless. Send it all to me right now. Trust. Send me all your money. You'll literally be like, damn, I didn't even need that.
So we can at least start to heal a bit. All right, thank you for watching, thank you for listening, thank you for your support. Now you know why I will promote the Sweden Democrats. So it's not, again, I need to emphasize this, it's not because I
The
think
end
they
goal?
are the perfect party. It's
The end goal is just to have a lot of money and be a guru that says nonsense and everybody thinks it's genius. That's really the end goal. Think about it. Think about like Sam Hyde or Nick. The end goal is to be like, people think so highly of you in such a weird, like abstract way that no matter what you do for the rest of your life, people think it's genius and they just give you money. And then once you've made it, you've made it. Everything else is just like an illusion. That's the end goal.
not because I agree with everything all of their representatives say. It's just, yeah, it's the best we can do at this moment in time. So, anyway, I will make more videos about the situation, and yeah, let's try to